Alright boys, how's all done?
Good man.
Not bad, mate.
Good. Well, welcome back to This Is My Story, your unofficial Hearts podcast. Another glorious week supporting the famous. Never a dull moment, Never a dull moment. The usual, we've got everybody, as always, we've got Ando, Kev, Shanks, Brads, and we've got Sam. How's all doing, boys?
Good.
All good.
Good. I do it.
Good. And as is tradition on This Is My Story podcast, we have a big Rab the Dunfermline fan because we played an absolute riveting 0-0 draw on Saturday that we can't wait to dive into the detail. What's been happening, Rab?
Evening, fellas. Not much. I wasn't going to bother coming on after your recent form, but Saturday saved me, so here I am.
I know, and we normally only used to invite you on because you were second, like bottom six or something, in irrelevance to us. So, but to be fair, I have got this on my notes to call you. You have been saying since probably the middle that you would finish fifth, and you are probably going to finish fifth. Which is
six, maybe.
Maybe six. Is that how exciting it is? Aye. Like we said, we'll try and. Actually, I think the Dunfermline will have like 9 minutes worth of highlights for the game on Saturday or something like that, and the Hearts highlight package is 90 seconds.
Aye. Well, I mean, we'll come on it. We were alright, but it was a dull one for you, I suppose, for Hearts fans.
Aye, it was indeed. Well, this week, obviously, there's a lot to talk about with Hearts on and off the field as always, so we'll try and go through all of that. We've got our normal features. We've got, if anyone can, Shanks McCann with Shanks. We've got Quiz Roy Simpson, and we've got Kev's monstrosity to finish for last week. I've brought something back. I've kind of brought an amalgamation of Fact of the Week and Corbett Hates, which is just going to be a series of things that Corbett hates, stats and facts, and just stuff that I hate, which will be exciting. We'll have Noah's By Our Noise with Tam. And obviously, as you've seen on Twitter or whatever, we had the pleasure of being joined with Claire Delworth today from Hearts Ladies. Ando and Brad's had a nice chat with her, so we'll obviously cut that interview in and out of the pod as we go on, because it was class. She was absolutely top notch, wasn't she, Brad?
Aye, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Aye, it was superb. And like we said, we try to talk about all things Hearts, and Hearts Ladies and Hearts Women's are a big part of the football club now, so it felt appropriate that we would get involved and have a chat with her. And again, just a massive thanks to Claire for giving us her time and having a chat in that. So, aye. And then we'll obviously have headlines. We will dive into the Dunfermline game. Rab's already shat it, as you can see.
Just wandered off.
And we'll do prediction. I think that just we all feel like that, don't we? We think it's bad supporting Hearts. Imagine supporting them.
That's why I was laughing there. I think he's getting a row. I've seen it. Like
we've been
getting in trouble, is it?
Quite a lot of synergy with the Hearts team though, because Rabs walked off after 4 minutes. I wished half of that fucking team on Saturday had done that and just pissed off and never came back. But
professional segue like that, Ando. That was good. We're getting better. Right, well, Rab's away greeting into this cupboard. Well, obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll obviously see all the links to the social medias. But you can catch us on social media. You can get us on Twitter, This Is My Story Pod. You can get in contact with us via the website, which is admin@thisismystory.uk, or catch us on Instagram, This Is My Story 1874. And again, just to get serious for a wee second, although it's been a couple of shite weeks following Hearts, the interaction that we get on social media is superb. Like, it makes it slightly better following Hearts when we get so much engagement and questions. And again, thanks to everybody that sent in their questions for Claire earlier. We put as many of them to Claire as we possibly could. So yeah, we appreciate all of that. Right, we can start a feature anyway, because we all struggle to understand what the fuck Shanks McCanns are, how the hell Rab's going, how he's going to have anything. We have no clue. So we'll just go to Shanks for last week's answers to Shanks McCann and this week's Shanks. So what you got for us?
Boysies. Right, so last week we had 3. 2 of them everybody seemed to get. So good interaction this week. 2 out of 3 from Andy Dixon, Tam Sharp, Jambo, Jimmy. He sounds a bit suspect. Borthwick, Dave McClure and Eck. and the only one that nailed on was Andrew Kinross. So, Colin Nish smashed his dish. That's difficult to say. Marian Kello, involved in 370 appearances for Hearts, penalty box bomb scare, of course, Robbie Nielsen, and more hype than Tam's Tinder, Oshiniwa. Absolute jobbies. Never want to see him again. Right, so this week, here's your three. Hearts legend should be in the Hall of Fame for obvious reasons, but especially for that headbutt at Easter Road. Struggling to believe how little appearances he had, post a couple of loan stints, and he's now an expert at making chicken sweet corn soup.
Okay.
Where to?
That's going to be such an obscure gram reference in it. Absolutely.
Follow him on Instagram, you'll be. Player 2. He sniffed about Ormiston, but chose the Gorgie. He came with a 0.9 goals per game average. And those of you that have listened to episodes 0 to 25, you'll know that it took me ages to work that out because I'm a percentages man. But he should have stuck to the Beano. Sam. Player 3. David Silva taught him how to dribble. Morientes taught him presence. Billy King showed him how to skip the queue at Cav. That's your three.
That's
Fantastic.
class.
That is fantastic. I genuinely really worry that people listen to this too much when they get these right. Okay. Honestly, I do. Even people starting to think like you as well. The folk that instantly clicked that it was either Robbie Nielsen or somebody that's managed because of your little subtle hint in this week's Shanks McCann's where they involved in part instead they played in.
Preston Pan's Hearts and some other boy was having an argument that it was Dave McPherson and they were desperate.
As if you knew who he was.
It's like Ferguson would never have played with him.
And he only had 2 stints anyway.
Aye, exactly. If it's no Daniel Couzan, it is Duncan Ferguson, Dave McPherson. I don't even. If we lined up 10 Davies, I don't think you'd pick Dave McPherson at a lineup. Not a chance. Not a chance. Right. As always, we'll try and put them on the social medias properly this time instead of just last minute on a Tuesday like we did because I think we only posted them about 4 hours ago. So we'll get them properly. I was going to say we'll get it properly up this week, but that sounds bad. That sounds like we've got problems. Well, we are looking for a sponsor for the podcast. If what's the adverts that are on TV? Newmans are out there and fancy it. Because I tell you what, my Jambo Jimmy isn't working very good. Right, cool. We'll do headlines first, or do you want to do? I know, we'll do headlines, and then we'll do this quiz monstrosity that Kev's harping on about. Does anybody... Rab, I don't know if you want to go paint the wall or something. I don't know. We've got to try and name players that played for Hearts because of the alphabet, and we all struggle with the alphabet. So
you skip muting that one.
I'll skip. You might actually get some. You might get some. Right, cool. Headlines. So, where do you even start? I was going to talk about Hearts on the pitch, but Hearts on the pitch are just Hearts on the pitch. They've been the same for. That's why we didn't do live reaction on Saturday. As much as it's cathartic and people enjoy it or whatever, we're just saying the same thing every week. Do you know what I mean? It's the same performance, it's the same players playing shite, in the same formation, with the same outcome. We've won 2 games in 10 or something. It's Jobby United, so that's why we're going to do it. All the excitement, so to speak, is happening off the park. So things we wanted to talk about this week were... Well, actually, I think one thing I thought Shea Logan actually played pretty well on Saturday from a Hearts perspective. I thought he was one of maybe 2, Craig Gordon being the other, and it was nice to see Peter Haring be some form of presence compared to what he used to be. So, that was a pretty positive thing for Hearts, wasn't it?
Aye, that's right. I thought certainly the first half he was impressive, but he kind of looked like his arse fell out at the second half. But he's not kicked a ball in months, has he? So, to be expected.
Rab, what was your? Obviously, you've been on for the start. We've shared our views. You're very similar in your opinion of Robbie Nielsen as what quite a few of us was in terms of dull. When you go back to episode 3 or whatever, when you first came on, you said he'll get you at the league, but the style of football will be absolutely dreadful. He's dull, he's boring, and that's exactly what it is. What's your thoughts of watching Hearts on Saturday and just Hearts in general over the last 3 or 4 months?
I actually went back and listened to episode 3 not that long ago just to see what we were all saying, and I think me and you we pretty much nailed it. Like, well, you with confidence you'll win your games, but it's not very exciting to watch. I think the 3 times we've played you this season, like all 3 games have been pretty easy. Like the first one we beat you, I thought we strolled it, barring a moment of magic, and the last one that you won. Do you know what I mean? It was pretty cool. And then I thought we were pretty comfortable there. We done everything. I know, it's just this classic Nielsen, isn't it? And to an extent, I'm starting to see the same problems at Dunfermline that you've probably seen at Hearts with Crawford, who's obviously came up under Nielsen, and it's if it's anything like what I'm having to watch, which I imagine it's pretty similar, it's not very exciting, very dull.
I think the other context that you've got to put into that as well is what Dunfermline are like bottom of the form guide, aren't they? For about turn of the year, they'd be
Since we
bottom.
went
They'd
top.
be bottom of the league. Since she's went top. So what was that, about end of November?
Aye.
So since then till now, Dunfermline are the worst side in the league statistically.
Yep.
And we needed a 38-year-old international goalkeeper to keep us in the game on Saturday, which I think sums it up. Obviously, we'll come to that. We'll go into a wee bit more forensically later the game. But what have you thought about off the field, all the sort of stuff that's been going on? Just pissing yourself laughing.
Aye, a wee bit. A wee bit. I found it really weird agreeing with Stephen Presley, because I can't stand fucking Stephen Presley his time at Falkirk, but I found myself feeling really uncomfortable agreeing with him. Just kind of echoing almost what you've been saying for weeks and months.
Professional for you, Rab, with your 4th or 5th time on the podcast there. That was a nice wee bit into the next bit we're going to talk about, which is Stephen Presley's appearance on Sportsound. I would say it was the best appearance on Sportsound until my appearance, but that I'll let listeners judge that.
Whoa, wait a minute here, right? Okay, I'm just gonna also back that up with Corbett saying that he didn't want to be seen as a media whore, right? You've just shat all over your own statement with that intro.
I knew that was lies. But we'll talk about the first one anyway. Presley, for the people that haven't heard it or whatever, I think it's worth a listen. He was on the Scottish Football Podcast on Monday night, talking about Hearts. Very passionate rant. Don't get me wrong, it's in defence of his friend Robbie, which is the only slight negative thing I heard about it. You know, he called out Anne Budge, he called out Foundation Hearts, stupidly had a pop at Jim Jeffries, which I don't understand. But he was right to call it a CEO savage for their silence and all that sort of stuff. But again, it's like anything, missing the bigger picture. It's not just about Robbie, it's about the whole scenario around Robbie. But anybody, what was your thoughts on it? Tam, I know you just said that you've just listened to it tonight or whatever. What was your thoughts on it?
It's pretty much what you said. Like, I appreciated how vocal he was, and you could tell he was genuinely annoyed, which surprises me because I thought he was a snake. I'd call him that to his face. No, I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. It's you, Tam. Of course you wouldn't.
He's about 6'4" as well, so nature. You'd say it to his tits.
I'm 6'4" sitting down, man.
You would ram one of the wee brogues right up your shiter, or not?
There's a show name.
But no, I agree with you. I thought, like, everything he said about the club and the way it was run, minus the Jeffries thing, was spot on. I didn't. Obviously, he's backing up his pal, but he also had a pop at his other pal, who with Berra as well. So everything he said about, like, fair play to him for actually calling out Craig Levine in front of him as well, which is decent. That doesn't happen very often on the Radio Scotland. So glad to hear that. So as well.
Kev, obviously, have you had a listen to the interview yourself?
That's the only kudos I'll give him, is the fact that he did call out Levine on his thing. I think there was a lot of trying to skirt around the whole thing that I don't want to actually chuck shite and let it stick on Robbie. He's my
Aye.
mate, and I didn't want to make it look like that. But his comments in regards to Jeffries, and maybe his comments in regards to Savage as well. Has anybody ever thought the fact that maybe Savage and Jeffries have both went and said, look, we don't actually support Robbie. They don't agree that he's the right man for the job at the moment, and that's maybe why they're keeping very silent. They want to come out and maybe say something, but of course they've just got the respect for the club at the end of the day. I don't know. I mean, that's just a thought.
Well, I think you're now at a situation for me where if you did have respect for the club, which you might be right in what you're saying, is, well, now's the time to talk about it, because the thing that keeps bugging me is Robbie Nielsen and Anne Budge are just custodians. They'll come and they'll go, and we'll get other ones. That's fine. But Robbie Nielsen will be replaced absolutely 100%. He won't survive this. There'll be a protest on Friday. There'll be protests for the rest of the season until he's gone. My thing that disappoints me, and kind of I find it a bit upsetting, is the fact that Anne Budge is going to ruin her own legacy at the football club, and that I find hard to take, because we wouldn't have a This Is My Story podcast if it wasn't for Anne Budge. Do you know, whether you like her or no, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be sitting talking about Hearts. But she made
Awful nice to bankroll, is he?
but she made the admission after Levine left that she would never make that mistake again, that she was too loyal to Craig, and it went on. Craig, I've been on the radio once and I'm calling him like he's my pocket mate. She said by her own admission, I was too loyal to Craig Levine, I'll never make that mistake again. Well, we're now 3 weeks after the Brora defeat? Was it as long as 3 weeks ago?
2
weeks. So officially 2 weeks, and Robbie Nielsen is still in the job, which is bad enough. But then, given the fact that we then lost to Queen of the South and now we've drawn with Dunfermline, we are now walking down that path. And sadly, it's not going to end in the way that I would like it to end for Anne Budge, in the way that I think she deserves it to end. Ando.
It's just gone, like, it's a continuing theme here, and we've spoken about it in weeks gone by, where Berra mentioned the fact that everybody could see that result coming, right? This is a common trend of everybody knows what's coming, and you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there. She's in danger of ruining her own reputation. So she surely must be able to see that that's the way that we're going. She has the power to do something about that and change it, but she's either willfully negligent or just plain stupid, and I don't think it's plain stupid, because she's not a stupid woman. So it's just a common undertone, if you want to say that. It's just this whole thing of things are coming down the pipeline, fuck it, we'll just let it happen. Why are we not changing these things if we know that it's going to happen?
I agree. Shanks, you must be fucking loving it, because you've been predicting this since day one, haven't you? You've been predicting that we'd make an absolute Shanks of the league and would struggle to win it and would be in the playoffs come the end of the season. Got a buzz on?
I just felt
Jimmy Jambo, so like that.
I just felt that everybody thought we'd stroll it, and for the squad that came down, and I just think that Dundee game just kind of set the precedent that we were all hoping it would, and we've just tailed off into nothingness. And the boy that hits the nail on the head, I don't know, was it the Perth to Paisley boy that put up on Twitter straight after the game about just this apathy now? It's like we're not even arsed anymore. We just expect it. Like it was a good bit of passion for you tonight on that podcast and Elvis and that, but I'm bored of talking about it now. Like I just want the season over. Just want to get it done. She's not going to change it. There's no chance she'll bin him. We just need to get to the summer, get it behind closed doors, and then hopefully we see a change. I just can't see anything happening between now and then. As much as you want to argue with Collins about it.
We'll come to that in a minute. We'll come at my BAFTA award. But Rab, what were you going to say?
See, just bringing it back to Presley for a second. Do you not think that Presley just pops up in the media every now and again, mainly when he's looking for a job?
Oh yes,
he absolutely does. But then, to be honest, that's par for the course. Loads of people do that. I think the thing for the outside for Hearts, or for people that aren't Hearts fans that maybe struggle to see it, I had a couple of back and forths today with people about Presley, like Stephen Presley signed for Hearts in 1998, stayed till 2006 or whatever. Stephen Presley was like the epitome of everything that was Hearts. I didn't know a single Hearts fan that did not idolise Stephen Presley. Club captain, longest serving club captain in history, won a trophy. He just, the amount of times Kev, Ando, Shanks, Tam and that, we'd be in the away end waiting on him to come marching over and go, fucking yes. And before you would lead, wait 10 minutes for him to wander over. You just loved everything about him.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole Celtic thing, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's like walking in on your best pal and your bird or your boyfriend or whatever way you look at life. That's how soul destroying it was. It nothing to do with that it was Celtic, which some people are trying to say the day. It was nothing to do with that because Craig Gordon played with Celtic, Paul Hartley went to play with Celtic, John Cahoon played with Celtic, Tosh McKinley played with Celtic. No one cares about that. You give everything that you've got for Hearts, then we won't care where you've came from or where you go. It was fair enough, he says it was get it up, Vladimir Romanov. That's fine, but it wasn't. It was in front of the fans, and we did absolutely nothing to Stephen Presley to deserve seeing him doing all that in front of the Celtic end or whatever. And it's just gutting because I'd love to be sitting here going, get Presley in as the manager. Like, I'd love to have Presley about the club because he clearly loves the club. I've told you before, I've been in his company, I've heard him physically talk about Hearts. I know that he loves Hearts, but you can't. You would never go back to your bird. You would never go back to your best pal. You just can't do it. You know, that's seeing him when that shitey top banging his chest. That's dagger to the heart stuff.
No.
You can't get back. You can't get past that.
You get the punching of the desk, effectively the punching of the desk at how passionate he was on that BBC podcast that we're talking about, right? And you think, same as you're like, yes, actually, this is a guy I can get behind. But then you just go, nah, utter wank. There's no way that you can buy that back. You can't go back to where you were after doing shit like that. So 100% agree with you.
Aye. He's burnt the bridges for that, for me. We'll come on to some of the rumours that have come up about that as well, but obviously we laughed and joked about it there, but we tried to, we're invited, thankfully, and a big shout out to Kenny McIntyre and the guys on the Scottish Football Podcast at the BBC for having us on. Obviously, we spoke to Kenny McIntyre, John Collins, James McFadden and Barry Anderson at the Evening News. We just tried to give a fan's point of view because, let's be honest, these people, they don't care about Hearts unless, we would have got a couple of minutes mention that we'd won the league comfortably. The only reason that they're there is because they've seen the protest, they've seen the embarrassing result at Brora, and they've jumped to it as if it's basically we're all angry and raging because we lost to Brora. And that's been, you look at Steve-O's, Ryan Stevenson's columns and his interviews, he's been nailing it for months about how the fans feel. Even Neil McCann at certain points before he started working for Cali has been calling it for how it's been. Guys like Stephen Presley, Alan Preston, Steve Kilgour or whatever over the last couple of weeks. Again, just to reiterate and what we said on Sports and tonight was that this isn't knee-jerk reaction to the Brora game. The Brora game is the straw that broke the camel's back. This has been coming for ages. If you don't believe us, go back to what Rab just said. Go back to episode 3. Listen to us talk about the fact that we've brought Robbie to the club. Or we had a positive outlook, we were trying to be thing, we would talk about, well, he's successful and he does this and he does that. But from the start, we've been saying, well, actually, if he does shit and we see the same shit that we've seen from the first time, the fans will turn. That's exactly what we want to see. Proper performances, we want to see results or whatever. You don't just bring back Robbie, you bring back his history. And that's where the fans are now. I hate saying it. I said it on the show. Yes, I dropped the show.
On the programme.
I said it on the programme. That there is no way back for Robbie now. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. There's no way back. When Celtic fans show up at Celtic Park flinging, you don't survive that. When there's people outside Tynecastle, you don't survive that. So I agree slightly differently for what Shanks is saying is I think that what my hope is as soon as it's mathematically done, the league, that there'll be some form of announcement to say we're parting company with Robbie in the summer. That's what I hope, because that way Budge could potentially salvage some of our reputation, and it would help go a long way to building the reputation of Savage and McKinley. Does anybody know this guy's first name? Is it Andrew McKinley? Is that it?
I'm sure it's Andrew.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye, there we go. Shanks, what were you going to say?
I'm just that kind of ever constant myth that we are just like constantly whining and moaning, even though we're a massive club, big budget, foundation round the corner, we've been saved, we've been Hampden every other year, we need to just wind it and blah blah. But I genuinely was more excited for a weekend when we were on a losing streak under Stendhal, because you knew that there was going to be a bit of something about the team than what you see week in, week out under Robbie tinkering. And I don't know, there was a bit of that on the show tonight where you had to kind of back that comment off about, aye, but what about this? Aye, but what about that? And it's like the media and all your mates that clearly everyone that listens to this podcast has to fucking put up with constantly, aye, you're just the boo boys, blah, 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 you know who you are. It's just infuriating because we've got to sit and watch that boring shit week in, week out. So hopefully we can fucking turn that around, to be honest.
Ando, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, just to bring it in as a potential extra feature in many, many prizes for the winner, do we want to put a date on when we think Robbie will actually be given the heave-ho? Just to maybe try and keep it interesting. Rab, obviously, you keep
Put it in the predictions league.
Aye, exactly. So if you get this, whoever comes closest to the pin on this one absolutely just wins everything. Ham shandies for everyone else on the pod.
So one of the teams has to win every single game left, don't they? And hope that we literally lose every single game.
I think it's Wraith, isn't it?
Dundee as well now, I think.
Who's the last 4 games? Who have you got?
Alloa at home on Friday, Morton away, then Cali Thistle at home, and Raith Rovers at home. So it's physically impossible, I think, for us to lose it. So
we can't win. We can't win the league on Friday. I know that much for certain because the result there means that trundles over into another week. So basically, it won't be this weekend. It'll be next weekend, which is it's a disaster. We should have had it sewn up by now. But to your point, do you genuinely think there'll be an announcement after it's sort of mathematically sound to say, right,
yes,
that's it? Genuine.
Fans will show up on Friday. Fans are going to protest at Tynecastle on Friday. It's already started to be spoke about in fan forums and on Twitter. Fans will be at the game on Friday. It's live on the BBC. Lockdown restrictions are easing slightly. I think there'll be fans outside the ground, and I think it'll ramp up even more because if the announcement doesn't come once the league's been shown up, there will just be there is no going back. Fans will not go back under the rock until Robbie's gone. I just know what Hearts fans are like. They will not stop. So, right, let's move on to the bit. I'll come to you, Rab, since you're an outsider. Is there anybody in the managerial stratosphere kicking about that you would be like, oof, that's a tasty appointment for Hearts?
No, like it's just that Scottish managerial merry-go-round, isn't it? Like, I was trying to think about this when I was fucking raging on Tuesday about getting Crawford there. I was like, well, who do you get in?
Well, didn't he send him our way? You can fuck off
no,
with that idea.
We're sending him your way because you're getting Levine, aren't you?
Oh mate, don't. We were talking about this pre-Scotland job, Levine. Yes. Anything after that, no thanks.
What about, obviously, the strong rumours this week are, again, which they'll be every week, I think, is still Alec Neil or Derek McInnes, or the two kicking about. I actually think, before we came on here, I think I maybe said to Rab that Neil McCann's doing a very good job at putting himself in with a chance. I think he's only lost one game, and then he's been unbeaten for the rest. Beating Ross County, he's won tonight, he's drawing or whatever. He's a passionate Hearts guy, he kens what the club's about. That could be a route.
Was he no hopeless at Dundee though?
Aye, but it's Dundee.
But Dundee
kept him up.
Dundee were they are and were a jobbies outfit. So if you work with shite, you're going to get your hands covered in shite, ain't you? It's just just the way of it.
Do you think he's in danger of falling into that? It's almost like that Celtic fan mindset that, how Celtic are like, he needs to be a Celtic man. Do you think these are like, he needs to be a Hearts man, when in reality, like, do you know what I mean?
Nah, because I would
Like Neil
take...
McCann, Neil McCann's not a great manager, let's be honest.
No way, because
Yeah,
I'd take
he's a bit
Daniel
of a mess,
Stendhal
but-
back in a fucking heartbeat. I know I'll get fucking derision for that, but
But I do get with every football club. You'll be saying that in your podcast about Dunfermline when Crawford goes. Is you want somebody like what we said about Presley. You want somebody that when you see them, you think get you and they understand what the club's all about. Which is why I think out of all the jobby managers in the managerial stratosphere just now, Neil McCann is probably, if you were going to pick a Hearts man out there, he would probably be number one on the list. Again, I'll never, and it's nothing to do with the man because he's an absolute saint, but I don't want to see Robbo in the dugout at Hearts because I love him too much. I love everything about him and I don't want him to burn that legacy. But Neil McCann, I don't care. He can come in and ruin his legacy. I'll happily hate him. I'll happily love him too. Do you know what I mean? That's just how it goes.
He'll bring his bike along at least.
He can bring that. If he shows up every week on that Coca-Cola bike, that'll be super.
For his house, I don't know if he's still got his house in Edinburgh, but he could just cycle to work every morning.
There you go. Well, Shanks will be able to tell you. He's probably creeps him on Instagram. Is he still living in Edinburgh, Shanks? What's he having for his breakfast? Smashed avocado?
I have no idea. Since I bombarded him for a photograph in Malone's one night, he's never spoke to me since. Deleted me off Insta.
Right, cool. Well, I think since we've done that, and before we jump into the Quiz Roy Simpson, we'll break there and we'll dive into the first part of Brad Sinando's interview with Claire Delworth. So here you go. Enjoy.
As Corbett said, we're delighted to be joined by Claire Delworth of the Hearts women's team. So Claire, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're delighted to kind of have you on the show. And oh god, I've said it already, and I've said show.
well, it's better than me because I've started calling us a program in the last few weeks, which is so super wanky. It's not even funny.
Cringeworthy material here already. So you're back training and playing now. How's it feeling? You had a kind of decent break there. It must be a bit strange being back into it.
Yeah, it was weird because obviously we'd started your season and then we were all getting into it and then obviously we'd picked up a good result against Hibs and then we went into the winter break and then just didn't come back for a couple of months. So getting back into it's been good, getting the routine back, and then obviously now Sundays are game days as well, so it's something to look forward to at the end of the week every week.
Perfect. No, that sounds really good. Obviously, you came back into a tough game against Rangers there. So hopefully now you can hit the ground running and just kick on. So obviously, you're living the dream as a Hearts fan, growing up a Hearts fan, now playing for the club. How does that feel?
It's still quite surreal. It's amazing, and obviously I go to training and just get along with my training. But it's you don't know where you're at until you reflect back. So sometimes my dad will say something, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that is mental. I've done that. It's just a great feeling to have done what I've looked up as a child. I was looking up to myself now. I'd be so proud. So it's just a good feeling.
Yeah. Do you remember that first time walking out onto Tyney? What was that like?
It was actually quite intimidating because there was a lot of people in the stands compared to what we get. And obviously training, I was just trying to soak up everything but be focused on the game. But it was just one of the moments where you step back and you think, this is amazing. I'm so proud of myself.
I can only imagine. That would be unbelievable.
I
So
don't know how I would deal with it though. It's I know people talk about public speaking as being difficult and all that sort of stuff, right? And everyone faces their own challenges. I would be absolutely terrified walking out of the tunnel at Tynecastle and even a stand being a tenth full. If there's even 50 folk in there that knew me, I'd be like, oh fucking hell, nah. Because I'd end up tripping over my own shoelaces or something like that, just making a complete and total arse it. That never. Do you not get a wee bit of the stage fright when you step out and when there was crowds in the ground?
Yeah, well, to be fair, the first time we trained there the week before, and I went to go and collect the ball, and you know how there's like the red ash, like it's not like Astro, but that type of feeling around Time Castle.
Yeah.
I went on that with my boots to catch a ball running, and I just about took myself out onto one of the advertising boards. I was a bit scared the night before that I was going to do that again in front of people.
I can imagine. I'd be the same as you, Ando. I'd be like absolutely pumped to get out there, then make an arse of myself, get booed after 5 seconds, and that'd be me into my shell, like absolutely bricking it. Probably just hear my dad from the stands going, "Yeah, shite."
I'd be more worried about Corbett though. Corbett would be the one I'd be terrified at. He'd be there with his bloody clackers swinging about, going, I never want to see you at Tynecastle again, you're shit. But,
So obviously you grew up a Hearts fan. This is going to embarrass us all. What's your kind of earliest memories of Hearts?
So I said on a podcast, like on another podcast, that it was the 2006 Cup final. But my dad actually told me like I'd been to more games, and one of my first games was, I think it was called the Edinburgh Cup.
Oh, against Hibs.
Yeah, that was my first game. But the first game I can remember was the 2006 Cup final, and that's only because I made my dad miss Rudy Skitchell's goal because I needed a toilet. So I was like 6 years old wondering about 5 years old even wondering about Hampden, and I was like, Dad, what's that noise? And he was like, Hearts have just scored, and he doesn't let me forget it.
Still raging at you.
Quite right too. That's shocking.
He's like, every year he's like, I missed that goal, and I'm like, you've seen it hundreds of times on video, can we move on now? He's like,
He'd still be furious. I'd still be furious too, to be fair.
100%.
I've obviously listened to the pod, and you mentioned that you kind of grew up idolising, was it Craig Gordon and Rudy? But was there any other players that you've kind of based your career around? Is there anybody that stands out for you, maybe from the Hearts team or out with that, that you kind of pull your playing style on?
So when I became a right back, obviously it's been quite an easy one. I've followed Michael Smith. But I watched, do you know the season when Christophe Berra came back and he was like winning everything in the AR, and he was just like, you couldn't get past him. I still like rewatch highlights of that game just to see like what he does, because he's so like physically in the air, he wins a lot. So I use that to try and like build, because I'm not the biggest like width-wise, but I'm quite tall for the women's game. So I sometimes watch how he goes and attacks the ball to see, like, even Craig Halkett, like, a lot of people, like, won't realise this. He does not miss a header, and if he does, it's so unusual. So I watch a lot of them on how they go and attack the ball. And then, obviously, Aaron Hughes is my coach, so anything I've got, I pick his brains.
Because he's got, like, 400 years of experience with Aaron Hughes there, so...
By the way, he could probably still play now, like, see in training. Him and Kirky, I've not seen them misplace a pass once yet. And we've been training with them for about 7-8 months.
That's brilliant.
They just make it look so easy. They just walk about the park, and 1 minute Kirky's popping up with a goal, next minute Hughes is playing this 50-yard pass, and they're just so accurate. It's unbelievable.
So you just bigging up Berra because that's your modelling partner,
as
we see from the kits.
I didn't actually get to do a photo of Berra, but at that time, like I just used to look up to him like so much. Like all my friends at football would be like, "Who do you look up to?" And they'd all be like, "Oh, like Ronaldo, Messi," and I'd be like, "Christophe Berra." Like happy as anything, like focused on someone that I can actually like watch week in, week out.
And what about within the women's game? Did you follow much of that when you were younger, or
no?
When did you become involved in kind of watching that?
So I played women's football since I was about 7, but I only started. So I got pulled up to first team when I made my debut at 16, so 4 years ago now, and that was only when I started to click on about like women's football, because it wasn't like TV, like it wasn't advertising the TV, and obviously I'd been to like some women's games, but I couldn't tell you people like the girls were saying this name, that name, and I didn't know at that time, because all the TV on football was like all the football on TV was just men's football. So I just based like everything that I'd done like in life, it was all based around Hearts. So whether it's going to school and arguing with like my Hibs fans, or my Saturdays would be going to watch Hearts, my Sundays would be playing for Hearts. Like I'd never watched a women's game, but now like thankfully obviously every game in my league on Sunday was like available to watch online. So hopefully more people will start to know people's names. Like now I look up to like, obviously there's like Scotland national team players that I want to be like, that's where I want to be.
Perfect. No, that's actually good, and we'll touch on the kind of growth of the women's game in a bit. But so you started out. Who did you say was it Spartans you were with as a youth?
Yeah, Spartans.
And then you got picked up. Did you say how old were you when you got picked up with Hearts?
15.
15, and that quite a surreal kind of experience walking into the Orium and
Well,
seeing the setup for the first time.
At that time, Hearts weren't fully associated with the women's team. So technically our name was Trinent Hearts, I think it was. So my training was through in Trinent. But like obviously we still got to wear the badge and that. We had like different kit. Like I was training in kit that I'd never seen before. Like it wasn't like a Hearts kit, it was a black Puma top with a Hearts badge. So like it didn't really hit me until a couple of years ago, obviously when Budge started to integrate the women's football and we'd walk up to the Orium and like you would see like men's players and coaches. Like I remember seeing like Dale Carrick, and I'd obviously like seen him. He played for Hearts when I was like younger, and I was watching him, and he was like, "Hi, girls," and I was like, "Dad, Dale Carrick just said hi to us on the way to training." And he was like, "Yeah, he's gonna like, he's wearing the Hearts badge." And then like John Robertson was so good; he would always come up and speak to us. Like that's when it hit a couple of years in. But obviously at the start, even just to be allowed to wear like a Hearts kit playing was just amazing.
So you'd gone full Gary Locke. Did you have all the Hearts posters and players on your walls when you were still playing for them then? Aye.
No, I didn't have that. May as well have.
So your time at Hearts, obviously you were kind of thrust into the first team at quite a young age, and obviously that 2019-2020 season was unbelievable. It came down to the kind of last game of the season. What was it like in the change room that year? It seemed to be quite a buzzing team that you had about you.
I had a really, really good relationship. Like so far in my career, it's probably the best team spirit we've had. Like we team didn't really change from when I first went in. It was just like one or two individuals would leave, like a few retired, and we'd bring in more. So it was quite a tight-knit group, and it was just every game, like I would go out, and if I wasn't playing well, the girls would have my back, or if someone was struggling, we all had each other's back. So it was just like playing with your friends, and it was just so enjoyable. Like I can't talk highly enough of that group of girls. Like everything they worked for, we worked for a year. Like usually you go back to pre-season about the January and do season, but we went back in the November, so we'd worked a full year to put that in to win that league. So it just, everyone deserved it. Like they all worked so hard.
Brilliant. And it was obviously came down to that kind of Partick game at the end with that bumper crowd. Was it over a kind of 1,000 folk there? That must have been, was that quite nervy, or were you buzzing for that?
I was quite relaxed, so you wouldn't think I would be. I was nervous. Like obviously I had pre-match nerves and that, but it was all the expected nerves. Like going to the game, my dad was like, "Don't be nervous, just take it in, but play your game." But I was like sitting there in the car, and I was like, I was confident that if we played, we would win. But obviously I knew Partick were a very good team. They had loads of experienced players, and they'd drew with us before. But I think it took the edge off it that I trusted all the girls. I knew that they knew what it meant, and that we'd worked so hard that we actually all just wanted to get over that line for each other, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I watched the kind of highlights back again today, and it's just, you could tell that there was a good relationship there. That's why I wanted to pick up on it, because it just looked so casual, looked so relaxed, the performance there. And I mean, I can't remember who scored the first, but that cheeky wee chip over the goalkeeper, like, you would never normally try that in a normal game. And
no, she would.
Would she?
If you get a chance, you should watch our game against Hamilton, the first game of the season. We're getting beat, and she wins the ball back on the halfway line, nutmegs a player, and shoots from halfway. She's got in her locker. It's ridiculous how good it is.
I'm glad that somebody's actually doing these wee chip shots from training, taking them into matches. And obviously you were involved in the second, a wee assist. Does that game stick out as you, as one of your favourites, or has there been another match that you think really stands out in your memory?
Yeah, I did actually really enjoy it. I think this season beating Hibs on a personal level, like I explained, like I just lost my granny and I'd been isolating for COVID, so I didn't even think that I was going to play. Like, and then Kirky gave me captaincy for that game. That meant a lot to me. But just like that whole season, I can't have one game where I'm like, that was the best game, because I enjoyed every moment of it. Like, see, when I say it was like going down Stockton Astro and just kicking a ball about in the summer, that's how it felt. Like that atmosphere, everything was so good. Even training and that, I just loved every minute of it.
So that Hibs game, again, I watched it today. The goalkeeper had an inspired performance there. That was unbelievable. Do you feel that there's the same level of rivalry between the women's game and the men's game with Hibs? Do you feel more, for you personally, obviously, at Jambo, there's no question there, but is it kind of instilled, does Kirky put that into the team before the match as well?
Yeah, Kirky enforces it. Like the whole week, him and Yuzi, and obviously Paul, Greg and Lisa, they're Jambos and they know what it means. So like it was enforced into the girls, like you go out there. But every game in our league, like you play Celtic, Rangers, so you would expect that, like that's the same level that you want to go and compete. Obviously Motherwell, they're close to us. Spartans is another Edinburgh club. Then you go to Forfar, and Forfar is a hard place to go for any league. So he enforces that when it, like he wants to win and he wants us to fight in every league. But obviously, like it's well known, my best friend Emily plays for Hibs. So obviously it was like between the two of us, we have our own little rivalry, because like we don't want to get beat by each other, because obviously then each of us have got the bragging rights.
I hope there's a nipping at the back of the arms and studs down the back of the legs the whole game. I'd 100% be doing that if my mates were playing. 100%. Well, that takes us on to a wee question from one of our regular listeners. Andrew Petrie's said that he's heard a lot of good things from the young guys in the academy about Kirky. How have the women players found them in this year? Like, does that level and experience, does it shine through?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I think I can say that for all the girls. Like, he's just brought in a good atmosphere. Like, everyone's got a good relationship. You go into training and we're all just happy. And, like, obviously we've had a poor result at the weekend, and he's came into training and he's told us what he sees, what we should be doing better. But then it isn't like you're all in a downer after it. He like raises our spirits, and he put everyone. I can't complain it. Like, I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm really enjoying it.
So I was saying to Ando just before you joined on, I was having a look at this year's kind of squad, and it seems like quite a young team. Is this the whole idea of the building a team going forward? Is this kind of been the long-term plan?
Yeah, so we had even when we won the league, we had quite a young squad. I think we've always just had a young squad, but obviously with younger players, it's also easier to build that momentum going forward. I think it probably is a bit of using our own academy and that, because we've got so one of our players on Sunday made her first team debut, Shona, and obviously it was a tough game to go into, but she's came up for the academy. I've been for the academy. Georgia Hunters came for the academy. Jenny Smith. There's a lot of girls, and I think bringing youth in is an important part, and Kirky does obviously relish bringing them through, because it's another player to teach. It's another learning experience.
So the important thing is to bring youth academies through the squad. We'll bear that in mind for the rest of the pod going forward. We'll maybe touch on that later on.
Right, cool. So that's part one of our interview with Claire Delworth. We will bring you the next part later on in the show. Yes, I said show. How about with now a word from our sponsor?
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Bike Speed UK. Any Jambo using the promo code This Is My Story will get 10% off at checkout.
For every biker's every need, think Bike Speed UK. From motorcycle parts and accessories to the best biker wear. Think bike, think Bike Speed UK.
Right, let us do Quiz Roy Simpson, and then we'll do Kev's A to Z quiz thing that we did last week. Right, we ready? I'm doing the quiz this week, and because you'll get a flavour for the fact that I've been so raging with Hearts, because this is brutal. I don't even think there's a normal, easy question to begin with. But we'll try our best. Right, question one, obviously the usual point system works. 1 for number 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, 4 for 4, and then the closest to the pin for number 5. We ready?
Fire away.
Aye. Rab, you can put your hands wherever you want, because why would you even care? Number 1. Name Nando. What is his name?
Armand Nanduli.
It's Armin Nondouillet.
Oh. How many names does he actually have?
He's got about 3
Oh,
middle
fuck's
names.
sake.
Or 3 or 4 middle names.
Scott, anybody want to take a guess? You can have a point for everyone you get right.
Armand
first.
Paris Saint-Germain non-relay.
Nope.
Ah, bollocks.
No, I don't know. I'll go with my first
You wanna
instinct.
guess it? Well, that's it. For a point, how many names does he have
7.
then?
I was going to say 7.
5.
5.
Shanks. Do you even know who he is? He's a big guy that plays up front for Hearts. Signed him in January. Does quite well.
Talking about Kev sucking the life out it. Fuck, 8. Move on.
Did you say 8?
8.
Rab.
Fuck those, aye. Loads. Hunters.
4.
John.
He's got 4.
Who are they two French cartoon guys? Helix and something. Can't remember it now.
No.
Asterix.
Asterix.
Ren's- Ren and
Asterix and
Stimpy.
Obelix or something, is it?
Aye, but I'm sure that's not French. They're not like
No,
Vikings or
they're Belgian. Asterix is Belgian.
Okay, move on.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Shanks, right.
See the can of worms you fucking opened here? Fuck's sake. Right.
This is like when we were quoting Einstein and all that.
That was only 2 shows ago.
Right, number 2, Tam. If you put a frog into boiling water, what happens to the frog?
Aye, is the cat actually dead?
Right, number 2. What was John Oceania's shirt number? Joe Wynn, whatever it was called. Oceania's shirt number.
Fucking idiot.
18.
Anybody
8.
else?
8.
Right.
I've no
13.
idea.
23.
Kev.
I think Brad's is right with 23.
Rab, do you even know who he is?
Never heard them.
We
26.
spoke about him for about 8 months because he played at a World Cup. He was this World Cup star that was coming to Hearts and he was absolute jobby. One of the
Pish.
worst football players I've ever seen in my whole entire life. He held hands with Messi at the World Cup or something. That's why we signed him. Tam, I actually think got it right. It's number 13.
Yes.
There you go. You get 2 points.
Are you keeping note of these, or do I need to keep them down?
I don't care. This is my last time on this show. I'm moving to the BBC. Right, number 3. I'm coming to Shanks first for this.
Yes.
Where do Hearts play?
Tynecastle Park.
Right, Kev,
Tynecastle Park.
Brad's,
Aye, same.
Ando,
Tynecastle Stadium.
Fraser, I was going to call you.
I would say Tynecastle Park.
Rab,
Gorgie, EH11 to something.
The championship.
the Kevin Nisbet Championship Bowl. Taking a guess?
Fucking Tynecastle Park. I don't know.
Everybody was right apart from Ando. It's Tynecastle Park.
I see. I had to go different and say Tynecastle Stadium. Fuck's
You were right
sake.
to say that because under Vlad, the name actually did pretty much change to Tynecastle Stadium, which is wrong. It's Tynecastle Park, which is right. Right, ready, number 4.
No, I'm not playing anymore. Just fucking go to hell. I'm not going to win.
This one's named, this is right for you. I'm looking at you. You've got this guy on the back of your top. You should know everything about him. How many goals did Gary Wales score for Hearts?
Okay.
11.
Oh shit, I didn't even write down the answer. Wait there.
With music.
No, you're alright. I think I remember. So it could be wrong, but then who cares?
No
People have
one's
been
going to call
listening
you
long
out.
enough to know that this is all nonsense anyway.
I used to work with his dad, and his dad used to like delete people's numbers for his phone and then like save them as like famous footballer names and show me like fake text messages to say Gary will not be playing on Saturday because he's away for a trial at like Coventry. I was like, all right, sound. Brilliant.
Did they happen to tell you how many goals he scored for Hearts?
I'm sure he once said it was 11.
Right, your guess, is it?
That's the correct answer.
Right, Kev.
Even a bit more than 11. But no much more. 16.
Brad's.
I was going to say 16, but I'll go 15.
Ando,
I'll take 18.
Fraser,
9.
Reid.
I can't see your hands, Tam. Stop cheating.
I've no cheated.
Fucking, I don't know, 20. Never heard them.
He's never. No way he scored 20. No way.
Nah, he's not. Well, actually, he's were close, but he's went one below and then 2 above. 17. 17
Oh, bollocks.
scored for Hearts. Anybody care how many games he played for Hearts?
Nah.
Yeah,
35.
I think he played quite a bit, actually. Does that include... But a lot of them would have been sub appearances.
And
70 odd?
47 times.
I don't think he made the
80.
50.
I think you
Oh,
should
I
just
think
tell
he
us the answer, to be honest.
Aye.
Wait, we've got a guest and we've not asked him. Rab, what do you think?
Is he not for Livy, actually?
Aye.
Yes.
I'm sure he used to be pals with my uncle or something.
He's Calder.
Aye, you were right. Remember his uncle used to delete the names on his phone and then save them as famous people and say, look at this.
Tongue to
He's away
Shanks
on a
about
trial.
it.
He's away on a trial with Coventry. You know, remember that?
I was getting mixed up with... Who's the other boy? Was he for Broxburn or something?
Gary Glenn.
Gary
I
Glenn.
was getting mixed up with him. I don't know how many. I don't care how many games he's played. 20.
Well, you can get a point for you don't care because I had that written down as a possible answer. So you can give a point for saying you don't care. It was 93. Tam, you said he had 35 appearances. That means he was like the greatest goal scorer we've ever had.
Okay.
1 and 2 or something like that. It's ridiculous. Right. This is closest to the pin. Number 5, right? Peter Haring is 5'11" and is the sexiest man alive.
Oh God.
Behind Craig Gordon.
I know what the question is going to be.
How many Peter Haring knobs are there between my house and Tiny?
Right. Can I go first with I don't care?
I will like it on. What Peter Haring's win rate? What is it? What is Hearts' win rate with and without Peter Haring? So will they with? That's the most important one. So closest to the pin. This was kicking about Twitter all day today.
I actually seen it. and
What's
I'm
our
probably
win
gonna
rate
forget.
with Peter Haring in the squad in the match day 11?
60-40 for me.
60-40.
No
Shank.
draws.
Nah.
It doesn't. I never asked for. I
know you
want to
said win and
I
loss.
just want to know wins. That's fine. Shanks. Brad says 50.
Brad says 60. I'll go 58%.
Kev.
62.
Ando.
I'll go higher and say 82.
Fraser.
I seen it earlier, but I think I might have got it wrong. But it's 53, I think.
Rab.
I would have went low, like 42 or something. 42%.
You ever talk about Peter Haring like that ever again?
Okay.
Peter Haring
It's-
is the best player alive.
You'll not get invited back, Rob.
Okay. Right. I hope you are keeping a hang as to who said what, but it's 56.6% is the win rate with Peter Haring.
Shanks is close.
What did you say, Shanks?
58.
58.
Ah.
That was according to Joel Skid. Anybody want to take a punt at what is the win percentage? Obviously, that's Hearts' win percentage with Peter Haring playing. What's Hearts' win percentage when Peter Haring doesn't play? Anybody want to take a guess?
43.
It's lower, isn't it?
Right.
High 20s.
You say 28.
It's 36% when he doesn't play. Mental. So I suppose we've got Craig Levine to thank for that because Craig Levine told Robbie to play him. No one will convince me any differently. Craig Levine on Saturday after Queen of the South was complaining that Peter Haring wasn't getting a game. Then went on the Scottish Football Podcast all week and said it was a joke that Peter Haring isn't getting a game. And guess what happened on Saturday? Peter Haring got a game. There you go.
Wonder
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Craig.
I wonder if Levine and Nielsen have got the same, mobile numbers and they can maybe chat with each other.
Gary Wales will be getting a game next week.
Aye. You know, he can. He's on trial. Is it done Coventry, mate? Big right. Now we've got the second instalment of Kev's A to Z, who played for Hearts in 2000 to 2016, the most obscure dates on planet Earth. What letters are we trying to get this week, Kev?
So goal scorers between January 1st, 2000 to October of 2015. We're looking for surnames. And we're looking for the initial of H for hotel, T for tango, and Z for Zulu. Just for those of you who like the phonetic alphabet.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go around the screen as it is on mine, and we'll start with you, Brads.
What years were they again?
2000 to 2015.
2000. Hamilton, Jim Hamilton.
0 points for you so far, Brads.
Aye. Aye.
Oh, well, that's me then. Fish.
Ando,
Zifuk, Gennaro.
Gennaro, Zifuk. Yes, correct. Tam,
Hamill. Actually, that's probably two Hamills.
wait a minute, which one?
Jamie.
Okay, Jamie Hamill. Yep, no problem.
I
Tam gets a question.
thought there was like a fake answer there.
No, there's two. You're right though. There's two Hamill, so you've got. I want to make sure you get the right one.
So
Shanks.
Hamill,
Joe Hamill would have scored as well then, so just score him off.
no.
Shanks,
I'm going to go Ibrahim Tall.
Ibrahim Atal. Yeah, correct. Shanks, Corbett,
Get his E's out the way, Zaliukas.
Deliukas, El Capitano.
Rab,
Rab,
go for it.
you must know at least one Hearts player. Right.
Probably ended up at yours anyway. That's where our fight goes today.
Nah, pass, lads. I don't got a fucking scoop.
Brad's back to you.
Hartley.
Hartley, yep. Ando,
The second most popular answer to all quiz questions ever is Robert
Correct.
Tomaszek.
yep. Tomaszek. Tam, you'll be struggling now, eh?
I'm struggling.
He's got his
Last,
worry beads out now.
Holt. Did he score?
Jason Holt, yep.
Oh, good answer.
Shanks. Actually, one of your favourite players, I think, Shanks.
One of my favourite players.
Aye.
Kevin McHattie.
H, T, and Z.
Hattie.
Maxie's middle name, man.
Maxie's middle name. Fuck's sake. No Shanks. Corbett.
Mehdi Tahul, did he score for Hearts?
Andy Tahul, yep. Robbie, you want our shot?
Nah.
Okay, well done. Well done, Rob. Brad?
This could be wrong.
Yep.
Callum Tappan.
No.
You're wrong again.
He
Well,
never
okay,
scored for Hearts, man.
Ando?
And then to say Paul Hartley.
Yeah, we've said
Oh,
that.
okay.
One on the right answer, right?
Andy Todd.
Andy Todd, well done.
Oh my God, how did I not get big Andy Todd? What are you playing
Exactly.
for? Son of God.
That's why I thought you generally would have got this one, Rob.
I thought
Anyway.
what you played for you, eh?
Back to Tam.
Sorry, it was HT and what's
Z.
it?
Zed's done, though.
Zed's done.
Zed's done.
Right, okay, so it's
Zed's
just
done.
H and T.
Yep.
Right, fine.
H and T left.
Cool.
Tam.
Harry.
Harry. No, he didn't score. He missed that penalty that day. Henry Smith saved it down to his left-hand side. Shanks. Still think you've missed one of the players that you would. I would go as far to say he was probably one of your favourites at the time.
Serious?
Aye.
Oh, I've got it.
Go for it, Brad.
No, it's not me. I think it's Corbett next, isn't it?
Let's
Right.
go for it. We need to get this fixed.
No, we need to get it.
Done.
Right,
Aye,
just then, Brad.
too much silence that I'm gonna have to
Oh,
chop.
I've had 2 out of 3 wrong. So Temps.
Go for it.
Temps.
It's Craig Thompson.
Who's Jason Thompson?
Also
Played
played
right
back.
back.
Thompson was the right back, built like a fiver.
Right.
Looked like me after a diet.
I'm gonna take a guess here. No, I don't know if he scored, but he might have done. I can't remember his first name, so you'll have to give me a buy on that. But is the
That's fine.
surname Thararenson?
For Aronson.
Ja-
Well done, Ando.
Jalmar or Hjalmar or fucking
Aye,
something like that.
Was wasn't he? Pharaohs or
Aye,
something like that.
Icelandic.
Right, so one to get.
It's Craig Thompson.
Oh, well done,
Well
Shanks.
done, Shanks. Well done, Shanks. That gives you 2
How
points.
did you get that?
2 points for the for this week. It's 2 points for this week, 1 point for last. But leader so far is Ando again.
Not
4
quite rightly
points,
so.
Ando.
Cool. Well, thanks for that, Kev. Let us look forward to next week's instalment of The Alphabet, brought to you by Kev. Superb. Right, like I said, I've brought back, because it's quiz time and we normally do a Corbett hates, and I've told you at the start, we've got an amalgamation of 2 features now, which is Corbett hates but also fact of the week. So do you want to hear some of my facts and some of my stats? Do you want to hear them?
Yes.
Go for it. I think I heard these when you were on the radio earlier, the radio show that you were on.
Was I on the radio? I don't like to mention it. I don't like to talk about it. Let's move on. Right. Aye. Here we go. These are things that made. I was going to do a Corbett hates, but then it was like, well, what's the point? Because I hate absolutely everything. I just told you I hate Neil McCann for being the Hearts manager, and he's never been the Hearts manager. So that tells you everything you need to know about what's done. But these are some things that we've shared over social media over the last wee while, because again, like I've said, and I think I said it on the radio when I was on earlier, that this isn't a blip that we're on, and this isn't just something that should be ignored. We are in the middle of rewriting our own history, not in a good way, but not only that, we are rewriting our standing within Scottish football, because as we like to say to everybody, and it's not just because we're big-headed wanks, but Hearts genuinely, of all the stats, cup wins, points, place in Europe, everything, Hearts are statistically the third best performing side in Scotland, and we are currently making an arse of that history. So in the top flight, under Anne Budge's tenure, we have played 182 games. Rab, do you want to in the top flight under Anne Budge? In 182 games, you want to take a guess how many do you think we've won?
Don't know, less than half.
Yes, you're right, it is less
60,
than
70.
60 was close enough. 62 games. We have won 62 games in the top flight. A 35% roughly win percentage in the top flight. Obviously, we don't include the Vida League because that massively inflates the statistic, and it's pointless because, as I just said, Hearts are the third biggest club in Scotland. Who cares that we played in the Championship? It's not a badge of honour. I don't care. In fact, when they hand us the trophy, I've said it before, let the groundsmen pick up the trophy, get the players in the cars and go home. If they even celebrate or bring out a Lego bus, I will destroy the plaza. Right.
I'll get steaming and buy it though. You know.
The whole plaza.
Number 2, if we fail to finish third next year, it will be the longest run in the club's history outside of 1970 to 1985. And Kev and Ando and myself, who have grown up listening to our old man or pals or uncles or whoever, will let you know that between 1970 and 1985 is genuinely regarded as the darkest years of Hearts in their whole entire history. If you're old enough to have remembered the tapes, we were back for the brink, which was numerous relegations, genuine fear of, like we've done before, liquidation, administration, gone out of business and all that sort of stuff. And we are now in the process of the longest runs that we've had outside of the top 3 and 4. 1906 to 1911, we spent 5 years outside of the top 4 places in the top flight. 1915 to 1920, we spent 5 years outside the top flight, but they had a pretty decent excuse. There was something. Shanks, what was going on at that time?
That would have been McRae's battalion.
The Great War.
In 2016 to 2021, as we record right now, is 5 years that we have been outside the top 4 in Scottish football in the top flight. If we fail to finish third next year, it will become basically the second worst run in the club's history. And for context, I did put it on Twitter. Aberdeen have had runs of 16 years, 14 years, 11 years. Hibs have had 21 years, 17 years, 14 years, 11 years. We've went our full history, basically, never been longer than 5 years out of the top flight, and we are now staring down the barrel of becoming having a stat or a history that we don't want or don't need. Add into that the fact that this season is the first time in our history we've been beaten by Alloa. It's been 121 years since we last lost to a non-league side. Robbie also has the badge of honour of losing our first ever competitive game to a part-time European side. Our first defeat to Queen of the South Rafe Rovers at home in decades. The first points dropped to Morton Arbroath in decades. Like I said, we are currently rewriting our history in a fucking horrendous way. Other stats that we had: £12 million has been donated by the Foundation of Hearts, £15 million has been donated by James Anderson, and over the years us have contributed over £30 million in season ticket sales. That equates to £60 million from the pockets of Hearts fans in the 7 years that Anne Budge has been in charge.
60 million.
That does not include match day revenue, it does not include merch, it does not include live streams, Lego buses, whatever. That is literally just us buying season tickets and donating into the Foundation of Hearts in one very generous benefactor. 60 million. Outside of Celtic and Rangers, not another club in Scotland will have that amount of money coming through the booth.
We could have just bought the whole of Dunfermline and wiped it for that kind of money.
We could have just had a place to store our money. That could have just been what it was. And for that, what have we had? We've got an average league positioning of 8 under Anne Budge. We've had, if you take it, that finishing top of the championship is the equivalent of being the 13th best side in Scotland. We have finished 13th, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 6th, 12th, 13th. So for our £60 million, we've managed to average a league position of 8th, which is a shambles. We've signed 97 players, had 2 transfer fees. So in Hickey, we've had 1 academy prospect sold in the whole 7 years that Budge has been. 0 players getting a game this season under the age of 20. Not a single academy has made their debut this season. Only 1 academy graduate made their debut last season and the season before. So in 3 years, we've given game time to 2 prospects from the academy in terms of giving them their debut. There you go. So just to add to what we spoke about on the radio, this isn't a blip. This has got nothing to do with us losing to fucking Brora Rangers. This has been a shambles for years and years and years. And not only on the pitch, it is a monumental waste of money. Rab, as a non-Hearts fan, see when you hear things like that, do you piss yourself laughing, or do you understand slightly why the fans are angry?
It's mind-blowing. See when you put it like that, and you start banding about some of the amounts of money that you're talking about. It's fucking staggering, eh? That
it's mental. And we stand on the verge right now of the solution to this problem is to rebuild the squad again. We average 14 players a year in the transfer window. 14 players come into the club. That's a full starting 11 and 3 subs every single transfer window. The idea in the club is if it doesn't work, just fucking cut your losses and rebuild and do it again. And that's what we're talking about right now. Robbie Nielsen's in the press saying all these players are going to leave. We're going to bring all these new players in. We can't. The fans will eventually stop putting money in. That can't be a business plan. It's a shambles. Right.
I'm still waiting on a quiz question there. What?
There's no quiz question now. They were just my stats. Right. We'll dive into. We'll do the powers review and our predictions. Then we'll finish off with the second part of our interview with Claire. And Tam, you're going to end us with Noah's by your noise, or our noise as it is. So, Rab, you've already given your thoughts on the game on Saturday. Was there anything from your point of view? I know I'd seen you tweeting after the match that if you play like that, you potentially finish second or whatever. The positives there for you.
I thought we were brilliant. I thought we done, like I said earlier, we done everything bar put the ball in the net. I think had Whiting been playing, it might have been different. And I think again, Craig Gordon's maybe been enough of a presence to get his a point. I think the weird thing, I don't think a point or a draw done either of us any favours. Like after the last Saturday against Dundee and Tuesday night against Raith Rovers, after that absolute mess, a point probably wasn't really any good. I think Crawford had to go out and show that he could really turn it around. And to a certain extent, he did with the performance. And it's probably, in my eyes, bottom to make it to the end of the season, because had we went out and performed like we did on Tuesday night, I've no doubt in my mind that he probably would have been away. But aye, I thought we were all right. Is that generally how you've been playing all season? Aye, is it? You were
Aye,
cash.
pretty much, man.
Out with the first game.
Ando, you watched it. You wanted to explain to Rab that that's exactly the shite we've been watching all fucking year.
Exactly that. So when you say that yous were good, I absolutely agree with that. I think had it not been for obviously a couple of good moments from Gordon, and if your strikers had been on it on Saturday, yous easily with if you'd got 1 or 2 goals ahead. With the 2 early chances I've got written down, 17 and 31 minutes, Banks 1-on-1 with the keeper, puts it wide, and then the second one on 31 minutes again, shot wide. Now, we only had 1 chance in that entire passage of play, and it was absolute crap. The difference with yous compared to us was that when yous got the ball and broke forward, yous were fast, right? Yous were rapid, probably because we are obviously up there other end of the park, but yous broke forward, yous were direct, and obviously had it not been for the shooting, you should have been 2-0 up. If you'd went 2-0 up, we would have collapsed. Absolutely would have collapsed, and the other chances that we had on 52 and 55 minutes wouldn't have even come into play. It is the absolute epitome of the way Hearts have been playing this season. You guys, fast and direct, straight up to goalmouth. Obviously, lack of skill probably let you down. I'm not saying that just to piss you off. But if you look at us going forward in the other direction, it was just a general malaise. Right? There was nothing direct or pressing, or there was no urgency about the play at all. I mean, I speak about this all the time on here, which is possession without penetration, and that again is exactly what happened on Saturday. It was just aimless. Sum it up in one word: aimless and indirect. No urgency at all. That's a lot more than one word, sorry, but you know what I mean.
You made your point. That was right, Prads. What were you going to say?
I think the shining light for me was still the disorganisation at the back. Like, it's easy to say that Dunfermline were good at pressing, but it was a route one ball. It was just it was 2 passes and they were through. Like, it was so easy to break down, and we've got a gaffer who, like him or love him, he's a great defender. He's got a defensive mind. We've got Smith, we've got Berra, we've got Popescu, like Halkett. These are experienced defenders, and they're being absolutely torn apart. I think I watched it, one of the clips. I think it was the second chance I think Dunfermline had. Mikey Smith went to close down a ball 15 yards into their half, and he was playing centre back.
Right.
He missed the ball, and then there's a huge fucking gap. They slot the ball through, and he got another chance. It's honestly, I can't believe how. Again, even Shea Logan, Eddie White were in that back line. That's all experienced players, and they were getting turned over far too easily.
I thought Shea Logan was good.
He was good in the first half.
But I think with the point you've raised, Brad, is a good point, and I think it epitomises everything that's wrong with Hearts right now. Is that the man you've just mentioned there is our best right back, Mikey Smith. So the solution to our defensive problem is to play the club's best right back at centre back, and that just sums Robbie up. You know, he's got no idea what his best formation is. He's got no idea what the best players are. It's square pegs, round holes, and then we all watch and go, "Oh, they don't look like they know what they're doing." I'm like, well, obviously, a right back playing centre back is caught up field pressing where he would normally be. If like you said, if he's trying to close the ball down 15 yards inside Dunfermline's half at right back, we'd be saying, brilliant. That's exactly where you want your right back to be engaging. But you're right to point. It's not where you want your centre back to be, because one boy at the top and there's a big massive fucking gap. And
just to elaborate on something that I never said earlier on, it was specifically to do with Halkett's distribution out from the back, right? So, and Rab, you're probably not paying too much attention to what the Hearts players are actually doing, but see his distribution forward when the ball is at his feet, it is fucking garbage, right? I don't know how many times I've seen him try to make a pass to a player and it just fell way fucking short, or wide, or wherever. Basically, his pass completion rate, and obviously I've not looked at this, but it was absolutely awful. And another thing that I've got written down is that there was just too much standing about waiting for things to happen. Then, especially from the midfield forward, it was a case of, right, okay, we're going to rely on these back four to get it up to us. But it never actually ever arrived, and when it did arrive, it's the classic thing that Corbett spoke about beforehand, which is back to goal. You guys didn't have their back to goal. They were forward facing, ball over the top or ball through to the feet, whatever. They were running at goal when the ball was played through to them. That never once happened in that game on Saturday, and that's not what we should be about.
That was probably the best we'd played since. I thought it was the best we'd played since the last time we played you. And then I was thinking, like, it's probably the best time we played since the last 2 times we've played you. And then it got me thinking, it's not that we're fucking good. It's just that you're easy to play against and you make us look good. I said that last time, and some of you kind of laughed, but you're so easy to play against, eh?
Right,
All 3 games we've played you this season, the one where we beat you, personally I thought it was a stroll. The one where you beat us at Tynecastle, again, moment of magic that won it, and then we were unlucky not to win there. So I think you're lulling me into a false sense of security and going to finish 6th.
Well, all it took was a text message for a couple of managers to help fucking non-league part-time Brora Rangers. This is it. It's the most predictable Hearts team to play against on planet Earth. Shanks, did you catch any of the game on Saturday, or are you officially white gutties on doing the Plaza mod?
No, I wasn't protecting statues this week. I watched the last 20 minutes. Few observations. I thought we were just really ineffective in the middle and creating chances. Any chances we seemed to get came from set pieces. I thought Nando and Boyce just didn't seem to be clicking at all. I know Hendo's been desperate chance from what I've seen of him. So,
in their defence, we had a big. See, in their defence, big centre half we had making his debut, big Lithuanian boy. He had an absolute stormer of a match for his debut, and he bossed it. And he had Boyce, and he had Big Nando, he had all of them in his back pocket. That's
was a gas plumber, whatever it is. Aye, gas Butis.
Aye.
Kev, well, if you're in charge, what would you like to see change for Saturday, Friday?
I don't know. I think we've tried so many different options. We've tried different players. You know, as you rightly say, the whole square pegs, round holes. It's the whole aspect that I just didn't quite get. Can we not just play a left back at left back, a right back at right back, centre halves at centre halves?
Yeah,
you know, it's
simple.
just
Simple, Kev.
It's a simple game. Do you know what I mean? It is a simple game, and we just try and make it complex. From the point of view of what do I want to see, I just want to see. I think Shea Logan had a good game on Saturday, as a number of you've already mentioned. I would actually drop Halkett.
Yep.
I genuinely would drop Halkett. I think there's a number of players.
Hold on, Kev.
What?
As soon as we drop Halkett, you know what's happening? John Suter will be starting. We fucking injured for another 2 years. So steady.
John Suter is absolutely starting on Friday. I can guarantee it.
I think you probably will. I think you're probably right.
On the AstroTurf.
Just get him off to Dubai.
Tynecastle.
Just get him off.
On that grass pitch.
Sorry, but you're mute there, Tom.
Aye.
Just to pick up on something you said, Kev, and we've no mentioned that for at least a whole show so far as Devil's Advocate. So you said that we've tried so many different things. You know what we've not really tried? Anything apart from a 4-2-3-1, apart from in brief spells.
Whoa, Ando, don't be too. You're pushing too much here.
Am I trying to be revolutionary here? Right?
You want to go with maybe a 4-4-2?
Well, maybe. Or fuck it, 4-3-3.
Oh my shit in hell. You know what I mean? Yes, you're right. Again, it comes back to what we've always, I think it was Brad, you said it either last week or the week before. Do you expect, and apologies, Rab, do you expect to beat Dunfermline? Yes. Do you expect to beat Wraith? Yes. Do you expect to beat Brora? Yes, of course we bloody well do. And are we asking too much? No, not when you're looking at these guys that are on big bucks. It's just.
I'd slightly temper what you said about the sentiment in what you're saying is right, but I think what we expect as performance and what Rab's just said there is right. We can expect to beat Dunfermline all we want, but I expect Hearts to put at least the same amount of effort in and match Dunfermline's effort. Is what that my bare minimum is, to do the basics right, show a bit of desire, play with a bit of tempo, try and win your battles. That's what's missing, and that's why Rab's right. We're so predictable to play against because teams just know if you win your individual battle, Hearts will crumble. They'll fade.
Exactly that. When was the last time you actually would go as far to say that Hearts actually at least stood up to the other team? Out with the game against Hibs and the game against Celtic in the cup final.
Aye.
In this particular league, when have we actually stood up and actually been accounted for?
Hasn't happened.
First game of the season.
No.
It's been a long barren spell, hasn't it?
It's ridiculous.
We play Alloa at Tynecastle Park on Friday night.
Shut up, Corbett. It's Tynecastle Stadium.
Predictions. Let's go around the table. Ando, what's your prediction for
Oh,
Friday?
fuck. You had to come to me first, eh? Right, so I'm going to say it's a scoring draw. I don't think we've got a Desmond Dennis. It'll be a 1-1. 1-1. There you go.
Kev?
2-1. Hearts
To
home.
who?
Hearts home win.
Shanks?
So if you look at the last 5 games,
I'd
you look
rather
at the
not.
table, right? You look at the table. It's an absolute dead rubber a result. They're the bottom of the league. We're top of the league. Last 5 games, we've got the exact same form. Both teams have secured 5 points. So
Good research.
I'm going for. I think with Gordon back, will be solid. I think Smith will be more on it at home. Now he's had a chance to get it right. I'm going to go 2-0.
To Alloa.
Surprisingly, for a change.
I'm just telling you right now, if Alloa get a result at Tynecastle on Friday, I'll fucking smash the place up. I will be apoplectic. Tam, what's your prediction?
I don't care.
You gave up now, have you? Well, you need to, because we've shared in the group chat what the forfeit is for whoever finishes bottom of the predictions league. So,
Oh,
unless
fuck.
you're
Is that
kicking
what
about-
that picture of the shirt is all about?
Nice.
and the
Oh.
shorts and the
And the
trophy.
shorts and-
Bollocks, man.
Right,
That's
so you
alright.
need
I'm
to give
top. I'm
something,
fine. Yeah, right, Tam.
2-0 to the 1-0 Hearts.
Tam. Oh, Hearts.
1-0.
Rab, you got any care?
I think this is probably the right game at the right time for you, I think Alloa are about 7 points adrift at the bottom now. I think they're away. I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen their kind of heats go down and drop. This could be the right game at the right time for Robbie to go and smash it, maybe.
1-0
6-0
Alloa.
Hearts, aye.
We've been absolutely ganting on TV, and we're on TV on Friday night, so
Yep.
that's something that's put me off table. I think Hearts will win comfortably. I think I'm still sticking in that Hearts are no absolute dog shit and are capable of beating part-time teams. So I'm going to say 4-0 to Hearts.
Brad's.
3-0 Hearts.
And Rab, what was yours just for the record?
3-9.
3-9.
Can we count Rab in the league so I don't come last?
No, we can't. Sorry. Doesn't matter what's going to happen. I'm going to win it.
Right.
It's going to be a stuck-on 1-1 victory.
Right, cool. Now we'll go to the second part and the last part of our amazing chat and interview thing with Claire Delworth from Hearts Ladies.
So obviously you've got loads of experience with Kirky and Aaron Hughes. The big thing obviously is you go from winning the league to then going straight into COVID. How did that kind of kill momentum? Do you think that's had a big impact for you guys this year?
Yeah, I think obviously because when you've won the league, like you're on such a high, for then it to be halted for 6 to 9 months, it does take that away. Like, and it makes everything seem so distant. Like, see when we were training in like the July and we still weren't back, it just felt like you were never getting back, and you were doing this running, but you were getting no reward from it, which made it hard. like obviously to keep your spirits up. But I think when we came back, like it's a new challenge, and whenever you've got a new challenge, you need to but forget that you've had that and accept that you've got a new challenge facing forward, because if we dwelled on the league one, we would never move anywhere. So you've always got to keep looking forward and looking for your next challenge.
Nah, it sounds good. And obviously, you're going into your next run, and it's still everything to play for. Is there still that belief that you can stay up and push for higher up in the table?
Yeah, so this season there's no relegation, so they're expanding the league.
Okay.
So they're taking, I think it's 2 teams from SPFL 2 up, and then making it, I think it's a 10-team league. So really this season it's all about learning, and obviously we want to win games, and that's I'm not taking that away from anything. So when I say learning, I don't mean that's okay to get beat, because obviously none of us want to get beat, but I think we've been quite lucky in the aspect that there is no relegation, because it does also allow us, like obviously Kirky and Husey have never been in the women's game, whereas like Paul, Greg and Lisa have. So it's two men's coaches and 2 ladies, like women's game coaches have came together, and it allows us all to learn. Like even Kirky says, like he's still learning different aspects. Like it's a completely different game. So thankfully, at least we've been allowed to do that.
Brilliant, and that takes us kind of onto the next point, is the growth of the game. Certainly on an international level, we've seen the women's game totally bolster, especially with the World Cup. Was it 2 years ago? Last year? It's had such a massive impact. Why are we not seeing that reflect coming so much in the domestic game? What do we need to do more of to kind of improve that?
I think because there's been such a long period off for the women's, we halted. But as I said, every single game was streamed this weekend, and then you've got Celtic and Rangers who have went full time. You've got Glasgow City, who I think made last 8 or 16 of the Champions League.
Yep.
And they're obviously bringing it in, and then Hearts are adapting their team. They're making the women's game more and more. You see in Hearts as an official page, tweeting more about the women's game. Motherwell have joined on their team. A lot of teams are joining, so I think it won't happen overnight. It is a slow process, but it is definitely getting there. Even the fact that every game was shown, you could watch every game is a massive thing, because if I was when I was at Spartans and I was 7 years old, if I had that option to go and manage to watch the game at home, I could have I would have been watch football right now. I'll go and watch Champions League games after, even though I know the results, just to watch the game. It's just one of the things you need to allow the platforms for it to grow.
Perfect. And do you think it's moving in the right direction now then? Do you think they're getting enough support from the powers that be?
Yeah, I think obviously there's always going to be ways you can improve that in the men's game. There's always grow the men's game, make it better. But it's going the right way, I think, personally.
Good, it's glad to hear. Obviously, I come from a kind of education background, and having been involved with coaching the girls' teams all right the way up, there seems to get to a point of you'll probably notice this yourself at the kind of 15, 16, where there is a big, massive drop-off point. Mm-hmm. What would you suggest if you're kind of being an ambassador for football, women's football? How do you keep girls in the game at that age?
I think it's hard, because it's when I was 15, 16, all my friends started to go out, they were having parties, they're all getting involved in boys and everything. My friends would be going out on a Saturday night, and I'd be oh, I need to be home by enough for a game the next day, and they'd be allowed out till 11, 12, and it's just that focus of, if you know what you want, you should work for it. And I think a lot of people, if they're closer to achieving it than what they think. They think that they're 100 miles away, but really, if they stick in for the next 2-3 years, they've got a chance of probably playing at a ladies' development league level. It's just making sure that everyone, it's hard because it's what's in their own mind, but it's just focusing on your goal, I think. But it's hard to say, because it's individual it's different factors for everyone. I've had friends that have been that could have went to the top, but they've just had different things in life, whether it's school, because obviously school, if you're doing exams and that's a lot, they've picked that, or just even things like travel and that, it can be quite hard. When we were travelling through to Trinane, my friend would get a bus from Leith to my house, which is a half an hour journey. My mum would take us through, and then she'd come back and get a bus from my house back to Leaf at 10 o'clock at night. Like, that type of thing impacts a lot of players being able to go to training and that. Whereas now, I think a lot of teams are now more based. Like, Hearts are definitely an easier place to get to in Overium than it is training on at half 8 till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're going to have quite, like, how would you say, if you had to put a number on, like, the amount of people that have been lost to that sort of thing? That sounds really bad, but you know what I mean? Like, the amount of people who that is just completely turned off and they've just jacked it as a result of that. Do you find that there's quite a high number of people that will lose the women's game because of stuff like that?
I think from my, like, people that I'm friends with, I've been quite lucky. A lot of my friends have stayed through it, but yeah, a lot of people do end up giving up. But I think that happens in the men's game as well. Like, it's just because there's so many more boys in sport, and because obviously women's football's still growing. Like, 5 years ago, there was men's football was so much bigger than women's football that the drop of people out of the men's game was seen as less drastic as the women's game, but in reality it was probably about the same amount. It's just because, like, if you were to compare it with statistics and all that, it probably would be the same amount. It's just people's interests and people's priorities change, and if they've got different priorities, like if they've got, like, if they're more caring about their exams, and you can't change that. That's their own lifestyle, and I'm not saying that's wrong or anything, but
everyone's got to go their own journey, haven't they? So
that's it. So what's next for you then, Claire? What's career ambitions? Where do you see yourself going?
So I'm currently working part-time at Carricknow Pharmacy, but I'm also studying primary school teaching at Queen Margaret. So I was working today, and then I've got, like, uni work to do, and then I've got a 6-week placement coming up for primary school teaching. So I'm in my second year of that. So I've been quite lucky because Carricknow are quite good at working around my uni placement and, like, my uni hours. So I'm learning about dispensing, so that allows me to have another, like, option if I didn't enjoy something. Like, I've got a fallback, or if I needed a second job, like, I can dispense pharmacy items, which is obviously, it is quite a hard thing to get into. And then I love primary school teaching. I'm loving my uni course, so hopefully that goes well with my placement as well.
And if the option for full-time permanent football came up, what would that sway your decisions one way or another?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's something that would be really hard to, like, turn down. But again, I've got to obviously assess my options, and especially if it was at Hearts, I think, like, it would be something that I'd be really interested in. But then it's like the fallback. So, like, a lot of footballers finish their career and then they've got nothing. Like, so I would want to make sure I had something to fall back, whether that's through, like, the full time, like, and a lot of people can get, like, learn through when they're doing full-time football, like, so they still have a course. I'd still like to make sure I've got something to fall back on, because obviously you can't be a footballer forever.
Because you've got, like, Brad just spoke about this on the last episode as well, in the men's game. You've got Shay Logan. I think you had said that he does something.
He's got his own plumbing business. I think a lot more players are becoming a lot savvier to that they still have a life after football, and you're ending your career for some guys mid-30s, early 30s, so you've got to have something to kind of to fall back on. What about kind of football career goals? Do you set yourself targets? Is there anything that you want to achieve?
I just kind of set myself, like, mini targets, so, like, whether it's working on, like, positional wise or just little things. Like, at the moment I'm so, like, I'm content, like, I've achieved what I want to achieve is playing with Hearts, and obviously I want to keep playing for Hearts and winning with Hearts. So at the moment it's just all about playing for that badge.
Brilliant. And are you chapping at Shelley Kerr's door? Are you noising her up for a call up?
Well, there's a lot of good right backs in the Scotland squad, but obviously I just want to keep improving on myself. Like, I'm focusing on playing for Hearts first, but at one point, I will want to push so that she's looking at me, but at first I'm focused on the club at the moment and improving our game with the club.
Perfect. Right, I'll finish off with a couple last questions from our listeners, and I think Ando's got a quick fire quiz for you. You can noise up some of your teammates. So a couple of the messages. Well, one's asking, "Are you free for game?" I think they're already wanting to bin Shay Logan already.
Gosh, I heard he played well on Saturday.
He did actually play really well. And it's a shame. It's a shame he's on just at the wrong time and everybody's been negative. But I think somebody's wanting to throw him under the bus already. And I'm guessing this must be a family member who's asking what's your favourite Madness song. You're gonna have to tell us a wee bit more about that. How come Suggsy's made it onto the team bus?
It doesn't. So I still get taken to football by my dad because obviously the COVID and that you can't car share. And I done an interview in summer and they were like, "Oh, what songs do you listen to in your car on the way there?" And I just said like the typical like radio, like I'll just listen to anything. Like I'm not like one that I've got to listen to music to big myself up. Like I'm ready for the game whenever I'm ready for it. And my dad was like, "Why have you not said Madness?" And I was like, "Because I don't really listen to that." So now he's made it like every time I have a game, he puts One Step Beyond on.
So that's going to be blaring out the PA system at the Oriam and timing new score now. That's a great one.
Every time I'm on the way to a game or that, he's like, "One Step Beyond, put on." And I'm like, okay.
That's a good one to get the crowd going mental.
What we'll do is we'll finish off tonight's episode with that playing out. Instead of having the levelers, we'll put on One Step Beyond because it'll probably annoy Corbett, and that's what I'm all about.
So we've got a perfect opportunity. I'm going to pass you over to Ando. He's going to give you an opportunity to noise up some of your teammates now.
Cool. So if anyone's ever seen Soccer AM, and we all know you have, we are just going to level a few quick-fire questions at you. So don't think about it too much. Just the first name or whoever or whatever comes into your head. All right. So start off with just a couple of broad ones. So your favourite goal by a Hearts player, women or men's team? It's up to you.
Scatchel at Easter Roads when we won 3-1. John Sutton laid it off.
Aye, is it the ball comes across, he takes it down with the left peg and just buries it past the keeper.
Mm-hmm.
That's genuinely is my favourite one as well, and I've spoken about that in the podcast many times.
Well,
so
actually,
well done.
I've not given him credit here, but Hearts had a DVD out and it was 3 derby games we played, and I didn't go to this game because I was still young. Mikalunas, when he scored in the 3-2 derby, I think it was on Boxing Day, I used to watch that. I'd go over to my granny and granddad's and it would be on DVD and I'd just watch that goal. My granddad was
awesome.
"We watch the full game."
If anybody's not watch the Dalworth goal against Hutchie Vale, because I watched it about 4 times a day. It's an absolute peach.
Right, next one. Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Okay, so on to your teammates now. Who's the best dancer?
None of them. I'll say I've never really seen any of them dance, but I'm going to give it to my friend Gio because she's always up there on the dance floor.
Right, all right. Sound well. This one you'll be really bad at giving an answer for this one, I think, because you might get a few pelters. Who's got the worst dress sense?
Oh, I don't know.
Silence, silence.
You do know. You're still in your shame.
You're just trying to pick who's the worst.
I think Leah Tweedy wears Crocs to training, and they've come in style, and I can't stand them, so I'm going to give it to her.
Instantly. That's a red card. That's a sin bin.
She'll take it on the chin and she'll laugh it off, hopefully. So if
I'm
not,
hoping that should be a £5 fine every time she walks into the training.
No, everyone wears them now, and it's just not something I can get on board with.
So we know because of COVID, obviously things are slightly different. But when the dressing room is normal, who's the biggest practical joker, either present or past?
Holly Aitchison likes to be prank, at training and that. She's always on the wind up, so I'll give her it.
Fair enough. Who's your most talented teammate?
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
You could say all of them, but I'm not wanting to spoon feed you the good answer.
They're all talented in their own way.
That feels like a report card. Talented in his own way.
The best player I've played with still plays in my team, so I'll give it to Rachel Walkinshaw.
Okay, and then finally, second to last, who's the dressing room DJ?
Murrin. She's got good music.
What kind? Give us an example. I'm going to pretend like I'm young and hip and I know anybody that you're about to mention, because if you said Madness, I'll be right up for that. But Go on, fire some names
Yeah,
at
she
us.
plays a bit of everything. Like, anything and everything. It's just like, I don't even know the names of it. Like, I don't listen to a lot of music. Like, I'm quite like, I just put like the football on, or I listen to a lot of like Louis Tomlinson, like One Direction, all that. That's my favourite band. But Maureen listens to loads of good music. Like, she gets it right up for us on a game day. I'll enjoy it.
Good effort. And then finally, and this maybe doesn't apply to everybody, who's got the worst car?
Oh, I can't comment on that. I can't drive. That's unfair. That's unfair if I comment on that.
Fair enough. That's it. So, aye, thanks very much.
No problem.
Claire, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and good luck with the rest of the season. We'll be watching, cheering you on, and hopefully get out to the games shortly.
Thank you. Hopefully.
Cool. Again, just a massive thanks to Claire for taking the time to chat with us. We really appreciate it. We got some good laughs and some good insight into the ladies team, and we wish Claire and everybody at Hearts ladies team all the best for the season. Up and coming. I'm sure we all echo that sentiment. Let's go to Tam for Noah's Bar Noise. Do you want to explain what this feature is? Because it's been on the shelf for a few weeks because Hearts have been Hearts.
Yeah, so pretty much I'll do 3 goals and I'll take the exact commentary and recreate it in my style. Well, not the exact commentary. That was wrong. Should probably do that again, but we'll leave it in.
I like your style, Tom.
Thanks, man. Cool. We'll just crack on. So, first goal is... So, the best box-to-box player we've seen drives from midfield, passes to the big man who's on the outside, plays it back to the hero of the day who makes the deftest of touches to beat my Hall of Fame keeper. What a day.
That's my seat, by the way, that's making those weird designated noises. In case anybody heard that.
Do it again?
No, it's fine. You
That's
just have
fine.
to deal with the fart over the top of it.
Has anyone got it?
Yep.
No, I'm famously shite at this part. I can't. I don't know when you describe it. I don't have the fucking instant video reel of highlights at the forefront of my head. I'm just.
I started with an
pishing
easy one too. I thought I started with an easy one.
this. Fuck off, Tam.
Right. Who wants to go?
I'll go with that one if you want.
Go for it.
One at a time, are we? Right, go.
Is it Walker against Jamie Mack?
Oh, man. Corbett.
It's Paul Hartley at Hampden. His opening goal, in it.
Yes.
4-0 demolition of Hibernian.
Yes.
Right,
See, now that you've said that, I completely get it.
It's easy. I'm like that with the quiz. It's easy when you know the answer.
What was your keeper comment? Your Hall of Fame?
My Hall of Fame keeper.
Remember the Hibs goalkeepers for 2006 to 2000?
Oh, yeah.
Whenever it was.
Aye.
Malkovsky.
So he was the main one.
The box was easy. Right.
Right, let's go number 2.
Number 2. Free kick about 30 yards out. 2 players line up like they're waiting on some movement. A small kick to the left sets up its magic as 4 minutes are indicated by Scott Wilson as the ball thunderblasts by the keeper.
Well, I've already done this one, so well done.
Aye, yep.
Well, it's actually Ismail Bouzid. Fuck's sake, have you done it already?
Aye.
Let's see if anybody... Shanks, can you get it right?
I just did. It's so in injury time. To level it up against Celtic, no?
Yes.
That is correct.
Oh, we need to keep a tab on what we're doing now.
After my lack of Hearts knowledge the night we are fried.
I know, I'm going to keep doing it. HERATS. Is that what your t-shirt says? That?
12 o'clock trains through to Fir Park didn't count if I didn't ken the words.
Right, let's go for the next one. What one's this going to be?
Hopefully
Kevin
it's still
Kyle in
being
the last
done.
minute of the derby. Aye. Let's go.
So, wee Shanks drills in a corner to the edge of the area. It's knocked in, then knocked out. Quickly, the ball drops to the best player on the pitch. He nips by one, then another, smashes a shot in, and the keeper saves it like he had a beach ball in the way again. Limbs everywhere.
De Vries.
Oh.
No, I've genuinely shit at this. Don't ever come to me for an answer. If you know what, you tell me the goal and then I'll go, Oh, aye. Then I'll get it out of long-term storage and I'll replay it and I'll go
Right.
sound.
Right. Ando, let's just look at it for one point. What
Right.
about the goalkeeper and a beach ball, right? So think of the goalkeeper and a beach ball.
Rab would even know this.
Rab,
No, I can't think.
tell us what. It doesn't have to be a Hearts game, remember.
Sunderland, that was Liverpool Sunderland, wasn't it?
There you go, Rab. Right, so
Who
Rab,
was in goals?
Who was in goals?
Pepe Reina.
Sorry, were you asking me?
Okay, Kev, just give us the answer, Kev.
No.
Let's finish this for the night.
The answer is Temps at Anfield for absolute limbs, carnage, broken legs,
Who's that wee
arms.
Shanks?
Because you look like Andy Driver.
Yeah, Andy Driver.
I was like,
He looks like
Phil
Liam
Stamp
Boyce
was
for
playing
fuck's
at
sake.
Anfield. That's why I went for the
There's no way you're as hard as Phil Stamp, mate. You're definitely a Liam Boyce.
That is genuinely my chair.
Whatever.
I swear to God, that is my chair. That's pretty much it. We'll end it on that fart, and we'll. That's pretty much all we're going to say. Anybody else? Anything, Rab? Anything you want to say before we go? This will be your last appearance because you're shite.
I was going to say, hopefully I never have to speak to any of these guys either again. He's in the Scottish Cup or something like that.
Oh, we're bound to get you in the League Cup next year.
Or if you make it to the 4th round of the Scottish Cup next year, maybe.
Oh, well, you would have to make it as well.
True
You got pumped out as well, did you know?
Aye, so I'll never see you again. I'll never have to speak to you again. Magic,
Well,
cheers.
The listeners will see you again because you'll be wearing the Trilby, the shorts, and the shirt for your shite predictions.
I'm noticed I'm the only dick wearing a football top today. Shanks, I thought you would have had your.
He does. He's got a Hearts top on. He just doesn't realise it's not actually Hearts.
I thought you would have had your Dunfermline top on Saturday, Shanks. You own a Dunfermline top, don't you?
What?
Up there where he's been in the levy. look at his wee
Oh,
shirt.
wait a minute. Right, no, sorry. We're going to bring you a specially extended edition of This Is My Story Pod. What the fuck? How do you own a Dunfermline top?
Because I don't even remember why. Where did we go? Benicassim. We went to Benicassim Festival in Spain, and
You've got a Dunfermline top with Martin Hardy, Benny Cassim on the back.
aye, and we just sung Dunfermline songs in some fucking field in Spain. I don't even remember any of this.
Well, that's getting cut. So
You're never coming back.
on that note, let's leave. As always, boys, thanks. And we maybe try and do a live reaction Friday night, depending time and score and all that sort of stuff.
Depends
and
on
as usual.
depends on how many folk take the huff.
That's fine. See you next Tuesday, guys.
As always, boys, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you next week. See you later.
See ya.
See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Go.